We continue our season in review series. Today, it's Mark Williams time. This one should be a doozy. We'll go through all the ups and downs of Mark Williams' season, and then, of course, we'll still get to a mock draft. All today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, let me center my frame here. Yeah, come on. Get all of Walker Mail. And there you go.
Centering.
Now it's a show. There's Doug Branson. You can see him on YouTube as well. EveryHornetsBoxScore.com. That's his Substack. And then his other pod is Locked On NBA. Whom he hosts with Hayes and Matt Moore. So has the other pod as well. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Real quickly, do want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Thank you. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. And yes, we still have a newsletter, a Locked On Hornets daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up to LockedOnDaily.com. That's again, LockedOnDaily.com. Okay. Whew. Mark Williams. This one's a doozy. Let's lay it out. Let's lay it all out there. With how his season went.
Get it all on the table.
How it started, how it ended, what happened in the middle, because it was a hell of a middle too. So let's get here, okay? It's broken on Hornets Reddit by my guy who I forget, but I if we can remember the name, who says before anybody else, all these other NBA insiders tweeted out, we have like Hornets Buzz Bro 123, something ridiculous like that, right? It's a name I genuinely love. He breaks the news that Mark Williams was walking out of the hospital with the boot on. And then the next day, we actually we get the news, it's late September 27th to be exact, that he injured his foot. He strained a tendon in his left foot. The team would announce the Friday on September 27th, and he sustained that injury in a workout on the previous Thursday. And then, of course, Doug, they gave us he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Now, the reason I give that timeline is because he was reevaluated in 2 weeks, which would put us at about like the transition to mid-October, except we didn't see Mark Williams in mid-October. We would not see Mark Williams play a single game for the Charlotte Hornets until we got to December 3rd. The first game of December was his debut. So you're talking about the first 15, 20 games missed. Did you find the name? Did you find? Okay, what's the name?
And it's a name we should have remembered because it is just a genuinely funny username, which is Chili Willy 44.
Yes,
and
Chili Willy.
The post was this from Chili Willy from Charles Willy said this. Just had a doctor appointment for my wife near Presbyterian. When we were walking out, Mark Williams was getting out of a car with a boot on his foot. Not sure if this is brand new or not. Hate it for him and this team if it is. That was 7 months ago. And the first and highest rated comment on this is, please be a troll. And then someone else says, say psych right now. And then someone else says, this cannot be how I find out. Well, folks, that is how we found out.
Chili Willy. Yes,
Willy.
That is your hard-hitting NBA journalist, Chili Willy, in the depths of Reddit telling you, guys, Mark Williams got a boot on. I just saw it. Anyway, so that's...
What if, I'm going to just throw something out there. What if Chili Willy is actually Rod Boone's burner and he couldn't break the news that way? He just,
maybe.
They said, no, we can't. The team said we can't confirm it. He couldn't find a second source. He's like, I got to get this information. I got to think of a username quick. Chili Willy.
Chili Willy. Maybe it was cold that day. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it's Charles Lee, and he wanted to let the world know. This is what I'm working with, folks. Already. Can't even get to training camp. This is what I'm working with. Okay, so he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. He's reevaluated. He doesn't suit up again until December. All right, so he starts in early December, easing into the waters a little bit, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 17, boom. We start seeing 25, we start seeing 30. And actually, the real coming out party had an 8 of 11 game against Washington, but the 9 of 9 game against Chicago, where he's all over the place defensively, grabbing rebounds, that was the I'm here in 2025, 2024, I guess it's still at the time, but I'm here for this season moment. Then he started playing really well, kind of consistently. Then he started allowing 40 burgers. And then everybody that he played had a I'm going to go off night. And it got to a ridiculous level. Didn't think he was going to get traded right then and there. He does. Gets traded February 6th. And then the Lakers rescind that trade not too long after that because it's right at the deadline. They ultimately get cold feet with a whole bunch of episodes in between that were getting the most views we've ever gotten on our YouTube channel with the debacle. All it took was a national logo like the Lakers to get us all those views. But with the whole stuff in between, basically, Rob Pelinka gets cold feet and rescinds the trade. Mark Williams comes back. There's this awkward period where we don't know if he's going to play. He does play. And then the up and down moments, I think, the rest of the way for the Hornets. And now here we are where we don't know what's going to happen next year. Wild, wild year, Doug. I'll give you the floor so I don't ramble anymore, but just a wild season for Mark Williams.
Yeah, I think if you go all the way back to when we first heard him speak, he's very clearly someone that does not want to be defined by his injuries.
With us, you mean, on Wesson Walker, like after the tendon. Yeah, after the strained tendon, yeah.
Yeah, Wesson Walker. I mean, anytime we've heard him speak, I think, in recent history, he hasn't, he's very aware of how he's being defined and he doesn't want to be defined that way. And yet, these injuries continue to be an issue. And they were an issue, whether you believe them or not, whether you like it or not, they were an issue in the trade. And it's the reason why the Lakers decided to move on because they saw something they didn't like. Maybe the thing that they saw was the first round pick. Although I would say after this latest playoff loss, going down 3-1 to the Wolves, they went with their small lineup for the entire second half of that game 4. Yeah. Did not play Jackson Hayes one single minute in the second half. So what does that tell you? Maybe they could have used the center, but the Lakers were looking at the long term. And then I think they're looking at the long term with this entire playoff run. They're not thinking championship this year. They're thinking, please God, LeBron James, don't pick up your player option so we can go get a bunch of defenders to put around Luka. And so, yeah. My thought on Mark Williams, I think he is somebody that is really focused on his stats and not focused enough on some of the things that you don't see on the box score, the physicality necessary at his position. I think he's somebody that's used, particularly in college, used his length and athleticism relative to his position to do things that made him successful. And we see this is not like new, it's not like rare, but a guy comes over to the NBA and it's like, no, you got to get bigger and stronger if you want to do the things that we need you to do as a team. And it just, for whatever reason, has not translated. And it's, I think for him, until it does, it's always going to be matchup based, whether he's successful or not. And I'm not even talking about the box score, the double doubles, the high rebound totals. I just think like whether he's an impact player, somebody that you can keep on the floor in crunch time, is going to be dependent on matchups. Whether there's a big physical player underneath the basket or not, or if there's a smaller lineup. I don't think, and you talked about this a lot this season, Walker. There were some areas that we liked from him in his rookie season that I think he took a step back in. Offensively, I think it was the scoring versatility and like the quick processing and low mistake mentality that he had as an offensive player. I think that went down. And then you talked a lot this season about his defensive versatility, his ability to hang with smaller guys out on the perimeter. That was a strength for him early on, and that has not been a strength for him this season.
It was not. Look, we can go through the stats. We will in the second segment for the season review. Maybe if we just get the main takes out here, such as you did, right? The main take for me is if Charles Lee is going to be the head coach, and he is, they got to figure out what they want Mark Williams to be. They got to figure out what they want to explore with him. Because what happened with Mark playing under Steve Clifford is it felt like they kind of enjoyed having Mark Williams be a guy that was good enough in drop coverage, but also could hang out there on the perimeter and make some things happen with the body that he had. Clearly, he's got to hit the weight room just as much as any other NBA player does. But do you want to do it to the extent that it actually takes some athleticism away from you? And maybe, it's not even just that, obviously. It's some of the injuries. In fact, it's the injuries as to why I feel like the athleticism isn't quite as there as much as it was his rookie season, as much as it was the 19 games that he played in that second season, where I thought that he was making a legitimate impact. And no, he is not the strongest dude. He can't get leverage on the smaller bodies. He's taller and he's skinnier. That's a tough way to win, man. That's a tough way to go through life in the NBA. Now you can get up under my hip, and I probably weigh less than you. That's going to be tough to live life in the restricted area. Got to figure out ways to do that. Got to figure out ways to combat it. It's timing, it's athleticism, it's IQ, it's all of that. I think he was just a smidge late. Charles Lee talked about this. I think he missed a lot of block shots by being a smidge late. How much do you credit that, or how much do you just chalk that up to him trying to learn a new system? Charles Lee told us it's a hard system for our center to learn. It's a lot of growth that he has to go through. It's a different role for him. So you're hoping for that. If you believe in Mark, you're hoping that it's just trying to learn the system. You're hoping that the athleticism will come back to some degree once he has a full, healthy off season, if such a thing exists for Mark. So those are a couple things working in his favor. The shot, we started to explore with it a little bit, like very, very minimal, but at least he was shooting a couple of threes at the end of the season. I think he ended up with like 3 or 4 in total. The free throw percentage is up. It's at 80%. He showed you a good free throw percentage in college, so maybe that's a part of it as well. But ultimately, this comes down to, what's he going to be? What does Charles Lee want him to be? And if Charles wants to fit the square peg in a round hole, and those two guys just never can get on the same page to the point where Mark flourishes, then we'll see Mark traded again. And you know why we know that they could trade him? Because they've already done it. So these are the questions we have for Mark.
He's had a back injury that was very difficult to come back from, and he was being designated with left foot, or I think it's left foot injury management.
This is left foot, yeah.
Yeah, left foot injury management at the end of the season. Those are difficult injuries, particularly for centers. And I feel for Mark. I mean, that's, I don't think he had a rich injury history coming into the league. And these things happen. But the Hornets have to be honest about like what Mark Williams can be in the NBA, because they've got a big decision to make. Do they extend this player? Do they let him get all the way to restricted free agency? What are they going to do? Do they explore other options? Because they chose not to. In the last draft, they had 2, and Zach Edey and Donovan Clingan, and they said no to both. So they've got some big decisions to make, and Mark Williams is not making those easier, although I think he's as frustrated as anyone. And, maybe we could talk more about that. I mean, he's not aligned. Doesn't feel like he's aligned with the team on like what makes him successful versus what the team thinks his success looks like.
Let's get more into the weeds. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Time to go through the stats. Time to go through some of Mark Williams' comments during exit day and just talk about the experience overall. What did he look like once he was back in a Hornets uniform? That's still to come. Locked On Hornets. Before we talk more about Mark, I want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center with all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. You can go beyond just managing money and start building wealth. You might be surprised at how much you're spending on things like food delivery or streaming subscriptions, but with Monarch, you'll see exactly where your money is going so you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, Monarch makes it easy to check your finances, track spending, and even plan for long-term goals all in one place. And if you're managing money with a partner, it's never been smoother. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals together, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On Hornets ahead. going through the stats here, Doug. So if you look at what Mark did just through the traditional stats, the good old-fashioned stats in the NBA, you see that he actually increased his points per game average from 15 in the 44 games that he played compared to the 19 games, just 19 that he played a season prior. So it was up to 15.3. Last year, it was at 12.7. The rebounds went up 10.2 overall, but the year prior was at 9.7 rebounds there. It was actually very similar minutes per game played. In fact, just a tiny tick more minutes per game played in 23 and 24 than what he played in 2024 and 2025. The field goal percentage actually goes down a decent amount, which means the 2-point percentage goes down. That's all he's shooting outside of the 3-4 threes that he shot this year. He was at 65% his sophomore campaign. He went all the way down to 60% this season. And finally, if you just want to look at the free throw percentage, 80.4% from the free throw line, like just damn good free throw percentage for a big guy. 72 is what it was his second year, and maybe not finally. This is finally the over 2 assists per game. That's pretty good too for a big guy in the short roll, just kicking out to a team that's not very good at shooting. Yeah, I'll take 2.5 assists from Mark Williams, who showed a lot of passing chops, in my opinion, as this season went on. So those are the counting stats. Doug, I know you got some more advanced metrics for us as well.
Well, on the passing, yeah, that was noticeable. Like it's eye test and its numbers. You have it pegged out of the short roll. That's where it was happening a lot, and they were able to do that, I think, a lot of times because of the threat of the guard that he was working out of that with. And so a lot of his offensive success, I would say 99% of it came out of that high pick and roll situation where he was either going to catch an easy lob from one of the guards or he was going to pass out of that short roll for an assist. His assist percentage actually nearly tripled. It went from 5.9% to 15.5%, which puts him in the 80th percentile among bigs. Now, we should note here, games played, that's an important stat, particularly for a Hornets team that has been very injured. Only 44 games logged, 19 last season, 38 in his rookie season. So he's yet to eclipse 45, not even 50. Just he hasn't gotten to 45 yet. So that's difficult. But here's the interesting thing, because for all of the upside that I think we all saw in him offensively, the thing that excited us most when Mark Williams was drafted, I think, was what he could provide as an impact player defensively. Chasing guards out of the paint, a deterrent, but also a shot blocker. You talked about the difficulties that he's had blocking shots this season. I think people started to recognize that as the scouting reports increased. And I was looking at the defense in terms of points per possession allowed. With him on the floor, it was worse by 4.6 points. That's a pretty significant margin to be down on defense with him on the floor. And I think if anything, that's I'm just speculating on why the Lakers rescinded the trade. But part of me thinks they did a little cursory research and did a little tape study and went, this actually is not going to help our ability to protect the paint. And I get all of the jokes about the Lakers going small, and I made one in the first segment. But in reality, I honestly think that Mark Williams would have gotten played off the floor in this series against Minnesota as well.
Yeah, do you just want to have a better answer than Jackson Hayes at your expense? But really, the real question is, okay, do you want an answer opposite of Jackson Hayes so badly that you would be willing to give up a future first? Because they'd be willing to give up Dalton Knecht. They'd be willing to give up Cam Reddish, okay? Would you be willing to give up an unprotected first-round pick, even if it's like a bajillion years from now? That's the question. And to that, I would say still probably not. Because when they made this trade for Luka, they did so with the future in mind. And then they realized, oh, wait, yeah, we got two of the smartest basketball players of the 2000s on our team right now, where LeBron still has it. And Luka offensively still very much has it. So we're going to win some games with those two guys just having the basketball in their hands. Do we want to try to get to a conference finals because we think Mark can get us there? I don't even know if he can get us there. Yeah, they'd still probably do it. They'd still probably do it, even if you allow Rob Pelinka to see into the future and say, hey, man, you're going to be down 3-1 to Minnesota. Are you sure you want to rescind this trade? I still think you would want to hold on to the first.
Yeah, I mean, well, they just came to their senses. I mean, that's what this was about. I think they wanted to show bringing Luka into the organization. That was always going to be like a difficult thing, him coming from Dallas and loving it. So they wanted to do a show of good faith and by giving him another weapon. And then I think they just looked into it and said, this is not whatever player was advertised to us. This is not the same. He's not the same player. And I think that's what the Hornets are dealing with now. And they have to ask themselves, like, what kind of defense do they want to build? And is Mark Williams the right kind of center to make that defense happen? Or is it worth exploring something in this upcoming draft to develop for a few years from now? Do you want to do it sooner? Do you want to go out and make a move for Miles Turner, who does help you, I think, a little bit on both ends of the floor? But, those are all questions for another day. I think, this is going to be a really difficult one for the Hornets because they've invested so much mouth capital into this of just saying like this guy is a part of our core. I mean, they've already done it by trading him, but then to like fully move on from him in this offseason a second time is really like you cannot any longer say that there is a core here. That there's you are by admission. Yeah. You are breaking that up and saying we have to figure out something else.
Need to stay healthy. If he's injured this offseason, then everybody's gone. Everybody's gone off the Mark wagon. I mean, maybe like you might want to hold on to him in terms of, hey, wherever he goes next, he might hit there. That's the lottery ticket you might want to hold on to. But here in Charlotte, the odds of him staying in a Hornets uniform with another injury, it's going to get tough. You were going over some of those stats on cleaning the glass about the defense being 4.6 points per possession better, or per 100 possessions better. You look at what Mark did in his 19-game sample, really small. But what he did his second year in a 19-game sample, that's where we got all the hope because the Hornets were significantly better defensively with him on the floor in his rookie and his sophomore season. Even if it's just like 60 games added up all together, you're talking about them being significantly better. The offensive rebounding percentage with him in those 19 games last year, through the roof, was really good there. You look at the points per possession, or the offense was much better with him on the floor last season too. According to Cleaning the Glass, the point differential, he was in the 92nd percentile. You look at what Mark could do on the floor, and you look at what the advanced metrics pointed to, and you got really excited about a healthy Mark Williams season, or at least I did. And I know a lot of other people did too. Like this is what Mark can do. This is the kind of effect that he can have on a basketball team. Can he freaking stay healthy? And then so he goes through the entire offseason, man.
According to him, he is healthy. That's to me.
Well,
that's
no, but
the
I'm talking about the offseason. At the beginning of the year, he wasn't. That's my point, right? I think that I'm going based off of our expectations after what we saw in those 19 games and his rookie season, where he also had a defensive impact. That's the point. It's that, okay, here, these numbers, the eye test, to me, it looked good, and then he gets through the entire offseason, except, wait, here we are a week before training camp. A week. Strained left tendon in his left foot, and then he's not going to play a basketball game until December. By that time, you're a month and a half into the season. Healthy off seasons matter, and he didn't get one.
I think health matters. I think heart matters. I think that Miles Bridges shouldn't have to be on you every game about showing up, and the other leaders on this team about showing up in the first quarter. Too many games we saw a Mark. Because, see, you can make a health argument if you saw like a bad Mark Williams from quarter 1 to quarter 4 over the course of a couple of games. You go, wait a minute, there's something's up with this guy. We got to get his body figured out. But we would see these games where first half he just looked miserable. And then the second half, when the Hornets were already getting blown out by 20 points, then all of a sudden Mark Williams goes into the phone booth and comes out and he's playing like Superman. And it's like, wait, what happened? Why did that? Or sometimes the reverse would happen where he would come out, have a huge hot start, and then in the second half completely fade away. So I just think there are too many consistency issues. Maybe some of that has to do with health and trusting your body. I think his heart needs to heal, honestly, because I don't think he's over being traded. And if he can't get over it, then he just needs to go to Jeff Peterson's office and say, look, you traded me once, go ahead and do it again, because I'm just not with it here. Whatever I was, I'm not anymore here. Maybe I can be that somewhere else. But they just got to get all of that figured out, because it doesn't feel like that they are super aligned on what's going to make him successful. And they can't let that be a weight on this team that already has enough obstacles in front of them to be successful. That cannot help player development. That cannot help getting this locker room to where it needs to be with Charles Lee to be successful in the future. They've got to just get rid of all those distractions.
Yeah, I'll end it on this. You're right, because I thought it was well worthwhile to pass on Klingon if you wanted to, because you wanted to see your first round picks all be on the floor at the same time to maximize what you've done over the last few years. The injury luck, it can't be as bad a third straight year. Okay, turns out it can, because we're in pain hell over here. So turns out it can. And I want Mark to be on the floor with Miles and LaMelo and all these guys. And so we pass on Klingon this go around. Cool. That can't happen this year. And I don't think it will. You traded him, right? So I don't think it will, and I don't think it can. So at this point, if you like Derek Queen enough, if your evals tell you Derek Queen is the guy because the unfortunate happened and we fell to 6 or we fell to 7, and we want an offensive hub at the free throw line that can do a whole bunch of stuff and wants the ball in crunch time, then we're going to take him, and we're not going to not take him because Mark Williams is on our team. I think both of those align, though, by the way. I don't think they can, and I don't think they will if that option is presented to them. Even in free agency. We'll see. We'll have plenty to talk about there. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Yeah, we got another mock draft. Hey, speaking of Derek Queen, could he be on today's docket for the Hornets to select? Hopefully it's Cooper Flagg, but if it's Derek Queen, if it's Con Knipple, who cares, baby? We're going to find out in the last segment on Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. Spring is here, and that means it's home project season. Whether you're refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, Wayfair is the best-kept secret for all things home improvement. From small updates like stylish cabinet hardware to major upgrades like new vanities, sinks, or outdoor lighting, Wayfair has quality products for every budget. What you could do is upgrade your kitchen or your living space with Wayfair. The selection is incredible. They're free and fast. Shipping makes it so easy. There's no hauling heavy items from the store. Plus, shopping is a seamless process with Wayfair. You can find exactly what you need to fit your space and style. Wayfair makes home improvement easy. Get started now at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Mock draft season. It's still here. We're on day 27, and we got 61 of these things in total. So what's the next mock draft you have for the people, Doug?
I do have one here from, actually, this is weird. It's the College Sports Network, all sports, all the time. But the URL is collegefootballnetwork.com. But they do have a 2-round men's college basketball draft that I'll get to in just one moment. But I have one more thing on Mark Williams, if you will allow me.
Sure. Yeah. Let's get finishing thoughts.
The problem with holding on to Mark Williams as he currently is as a player, someone that I don't think we would ascribe like physicality and aggression to, is that you're trying to build your team around LaMelo Ball. Like, I look at Minnesota, because, I advocated for the Hornets to go after Rudy Gobert, and that's a player that you cannot, he's certainly someone that he's an elite shot blocker and he has great defensive awareness that I'm not sure that Mark Williams possesses at those levels, but he's also not someone that you would call physical. Certainly Draymond Green would not call him very physical.
No.
But they constructed their team around that idea, or they brought him onto a team that was full of Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards and guys up top that weren't afraid to push other guys around and give Rudy Gobert enough time to react to all of that and to counter. It's all about trade-offs and countering weaknesses with strengths. And I'm just not sure you can do that with Mark Williams if he's going to remain this type of player. I'm not sure that you can do that with LaMelo Ball up top. You need to give LaMelo Ball someone that crashes the glass like Mark Williams does on the offensive end of the floor, and on the defensive end of the floor can be an anchor, can be a physical player. And then you do that at the power forward position. You want to fill that physicality bucket as full as you can. I mean, if you look at these playoffs, that's the big trend. You're going to run into one series that's going to be a dogfight. And you cannot have two players in your starting lineup that you're a little worried about being in a dogfight.
Yeah, got to figure out what you want him to do. No doubt. Got to figure out his role, and then you can go from there.
All right, here we go. College Sports Network, all sports, all the time. 2-round NBA mock draft. The Charlotte Hornets in the number 3 spot. They're taking VJ Edgecombe, a dynamic wing known for his scoring and defensive prowess. With Edgecombe's smooth stroke and high-energy play, the Hornets can look to create a starting 5 that's both length-filled and offensively versatile. Both of those things sound wonderful to me, Walker.
They do. Talent on both ends of the floor. That's a lot of fun to have. VJ seems like a guy that the Hornets would like. If you were trying to figure out who the Charles Lee / Jeff Peterson guys are, feels like VJ Edgecombe does fill that Hornets DNA, does check off that box. And we'll get closer and closer, and we'll start to hear some comments from them. We'll start to see the visits that they get. Maybe they're reported, maybe they're not. Who knows? We'll see the combine and all of that. But I would venture a guess on April 29th, before the NBA draft, that VJ Edgecombe would be high on their list because he should be high on everybody's list, but also just the attitude would be high on the Hornets list, given what they've gone after so far.
Okay, this is going to strike at the heart of this draft's credibility.
Okay.
But in the second round, because I did say this is a 2-round mock, but in the second round, they have New Orleans via Charlotte selecting 34th. That's backwards. It's going to be Charlotte via New Orleans. But they have the Hornets in those pair of second-round picks, taking 2 power forwards that I think have very different skill sets. So with the 33rd pick, Charlotte selects Amari Williams out of Kentucky, 6'11", 250, power forward center. He's a big. 6'11", 250. He's a big.
250.
Known
big,
for his physicality and shot blocking, elite defender, rebounder, raw offensively, strong defensive presence. And then with the 34th pick, they have them selecting Bogo Markovic from Serbia. He is a power forward that can stretch the floor, shooting, craftiness, versatile asset for this Hornets young roster.
Do you like the makeup of those guys as described in the second round?
I mean, I think they need to add shooting. So if you're just asking me to take one of those guys, I mean, I think they need physicality too, but I think, this team shot a lot of threes and could not make a lot of threes. And that is something that I think it's going to be a lot more. I think you can inspire players to play well beyond what they've played physically before, particularly if you interview that guy and you figure out, like, is this the right kind of player? Will he respond to that? I think it's just a lot more difficult to bring in a bunch of non-shooters and teach them all how to shoot. So give me Bogo. Give me the Bogo stick.
Okay, yeah, I just looked it up. I was trying to find the mock draft that you might have to see if there are other guys and where they went. Yeah, Kalkbrenner went 41 at Miami in this mock draft. Kalkbrenner's kind of a guy that would be interesting. Oh, excuse me, I'm going, Ryan Kalkbrenner. But what's great about this particular mock draft is you question the credibility because they had the picks like altered.
They have Kalkbrenner going twice.
That's right. They have him being selected by Miami at number 41 and then again at 45. I mean, what is the write-up the same? It is not. It's actually not. So this guy, whoever created this, I'm actually going to call him out.
I don't know that it's a human being. I'm not seeing a byline. Actually, I'm going to go with ChatGPT. Yep. I think we just got ChatGPT for the first time in mock draft today. I don't think it'll be the last time, folks, because I'm digging deep.
Yep. What would be interesting is who they left off of this entire process. Yeah. They can't get drafted because Kalkbrenner, I'm sorry, he's got to get drafted twice. So, yeah.
That's an honor. Honestly, if you get drafted twice, that's an honor.
It is an honor. All right. So, okay, we're at that point in mock draft season. Perhaps it's a good time to end the show. Congratulations to Kalkbrenner, and also congratulations to Kalkbrenner and the both of you for being drafted. That's Doug Branson. He's on everyhornetsboxscore.com. He's also on Locked On NBA, which you should make your second listen after making Locked On Hornets your first listen. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.